Hello, everybody. Hey.
Hey.
Things look a little bit different from up here. I'm just adjusting to my new perspective. You know, the title of the book, it's weird. Almost everybody gets it wrong. The title of the book is The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. I titled it that very deliberately because if you're like me, a lot of times the mind does not know that a more beautiful world is possible. In fact, it seems, rationally speaking, utterly impossible that things are ever going to get significantly better than they have always been. And in fact, if you're really being rational about it, it's obvious that things are getting worse and worse, faster and faster, and that's going to continue. And maybe you've been in that state of mind where you're reading the news, you're reading about the degradation of ecosystems, you're reading about social decay, you're watching videos about Gaza, or about Ukraine, or about Sudan, or about the DRC, or about the Amazon burning, or so many different things, and all the existential risks facing humanity, and the decaying political situation, and the reptilian cabal that rules the world, or whatever it happens to be. It seems impossible that it's ever going to change, that this world is ever going to heal. And any protest to the contrary feels, like you're just trying to convince yourself of something that is impossible. Now, I said, that you've been in, maybe most of you, at one point or another, have been in this state. It's not only a state of mind. That's the key to understanding it. It's a state of being. It's an emotional state. It's a psychological state. It's a spiritual state. And the rational stories about why it's hopeless they're the clothing on top of this emotional, psychological, spiritual state. And then, something happens to change the state. And then all of a sudden, all those doom and gloom stories don't seem very persuasive anymore. Or they don't seem to matter. Maybe you still can't refute them, but you're tapping into another possibility, another reality. And that's what I call the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And in fact, see, this is not a matter of the heart pitted against reason. Reason can flesh out either the despair or the hope. And some of the speakers we've seen here have offered us both. And you look at the geo ships, is that what they're called? Yeah, and you're like, yeah, this could totally work. It's so practical, it's not that far away. Or maybe you experience breath work here. And it's so obvious the transformative potential for this and how close it is. It's not like you have to practice for decades to access the states that are possible with that technology. It's right here. A more beautiful world is this close, and it's also infinitely far away. The fact that it is a state of being indicates that there's some kind of transformative process that we need to go through in order to inhabit the story in full unity of heart and mind that such a world is possible, that healing is possible, that change is possible for the world. So it co-resonates with a process of change in ourselves. So just kind of floating around here and picking up on some conversations and listening to some of the speakers and some of the music, I kind of get the feeling that some people here are in like this escalator ride and on mission, on purpose, exuberant, growing in every dimension of their lives, bringing something amazing to the world, and being prosperous as they do it, and they're in an awesome relationship, and everything is in this beautiful growth phase. And then there's some of us who are pretending that that's what it looks like. Maybe not successfully. Sometimes maybe successfully. Maybe everybody thinks that. Maybe even you think that. But maybe there's some incomplete aspect of it. Like a crack that is widening over time. And I'm not trying to program that into you, okay? Like maybe things are. I mean, I'm being sincere. Like there is this. We go through these phases, okay? And so another phase is this widening crack, this disquiet that spreads cracks throughout the whole edifice of our lives until things start falling apart. And so some people might be in this state of trying to hold it all together, and not just trying to hold together your health, your job, and your relationship, but also trying to hold together the story that you're using to make sense and meaning of the world. The story that tells you what's real and who you are. And the cracks widen and they grow. And here's a place that many of the people in my circles have visited recently. It's the place where you cannot hold it together anymore. And you are it's both. You are ejected from your old story, from your old world, from your old life, from your old job, from your old relationship, or you abandon it. And usually it's a combination of both. But one way or another, the slate is cleaned for something new to arise. And you're like, well, I'm more than ready for the new thing to arise. What could it be? And maybe you jump onto the first thing as a new source of meaning, as a new source of identity, only to be disappointed, only to discover that it's actually the same old story in new clothing. And after that happens a couple times, which is really another form of trying to make the old thing work again, then you're really in the space between stories. And it can be brutal getting there, because we are tenacious in holding on. We are tenacious in trying to cement together those cracks. It's so brutal that some of us don't even survive it. But when we pass through that, then we are in a place of freedom. I'm kind of in a place like that right now, having gone through various forms of heartbreak and in a phase now of unemployment, which, I mean, I'm still writing and stuff, but I'm really not sure what I'm going to be doing in 3 months from now, which is a very precious time of life. You know, there's not often where you really have no idea what you're going to be doing in 3 months. So a lot of people in my circle are kind of going through this too. And that's the vacuum that draws in something new. And how long does it take? It can take a very long time for the clinging to how things were to finally let go. But that's the readiness. And we want to be able to do something to make it happen faster. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm in that state, Charles, or I'm getting near that state, so what do I do now? I'm in the place between stories. I don't know what's coming in 3 months, so what do I do? You don't know what to do. And no one can tell you what to do. And in fact, not knowing what to do, that is what opens the door to something that you do not know. That's why the old chapter has to end, because you don't know. It's not just, a new job, a new relationship, or something like that. Both of those things correspond to a new person. And that person emerges through the initiation of breakdown. And even we want to have a right way and a wrong way to do it. And so maybe the right way is, maybe the prescription is, you have to surrender. That's the thing I'm going to do. You have to let go. But haven't you ever experienced fake surrender? Fake letting go, fake forgiveness. I'm talking about other people, not me, of course. Yeah, so and then at some point you can't hold on anymore. Why am I even telling you this if there's nothing that I can tell you to do as you... And again, I'm not presuming everybody's in this place, but I think most people know what I'm talking about. So why am I even talking about it if I can't tell you what to do? Because there are other ways that information reaches us and other ways of learning and transforming that are not about a prescription for what to do. They're not about instructions for what to do. It's that a medicine enters into us and changes us. An experience enters into us and changes us. A person crosses our path. And you cannot say what you learned from that person maybe. Maybe you can, but maybe you can't. But they're a presence that changes us. Because who are we actually? We're not the discrete, separate selves that the modern mind, Western civilization has narrated to us. We are the totality of our relationships. So a new information comes in. That's one reason people are attracted to festivals. New information comes in. You know to be here. So yeah, it's not only that you don't know what to do, it's also that you do know what to do. Even if you can't rationalize it and explain it. And as you follow that, and this is not a prescription for all times of life, okay? There are times of life where you know exactly what to do, you can map it out, you can make a 5-year plan, and a 2-year plan, and a 1-year plan, and a 1-month plan, and I know what I should do tomorrow to get there. And some of us are in that phase. But that's not every phase. So the unarticulable knowledge, the unexplainable knowledge of knowing what to do, that has guided you to the right place at the right moment, to the right person, sometimes even against your better instincts, but here you are. You just are here. It's not even that you are conscious of following an inner knowing. It's not necessarily that you have this thing called your intuition, and I follow my intuition, and I'm very intuitive. what I'm talking about in this space between stories is a profound helplessness, a profound letting go that we can't even let go on purpose, but that opens up a whole other intelligence that brings us to the right moment in the right place with the right person. And as the results of that intelligence become evident and little miracles start to happen, that confirms the knowledge that each of us has come here carrying, that a more beautiful world is possible. And so maybe instead of explaining how to navigate this space between stories, I'm simply invoking a recognition and a fellowship that in itself generates movement inside you. So, this whole thing that I've described is also happening collectively. "50 or 100 years ago, humanity was on such an ascent path. The future was amazing, incredible, radiant, and life was getting better and better. Yet even back then, the people who were sensitive to it were aware of a crack in the foundation of civilization. And it disturbed them. And the crack grew and spread, multiplied. And now, I wouldn't even say we're really holding it together anymore. You know, it's kind of that desperate phase when things are really falling apart, and maybe out of desperation and longing for some kind of meaning, you glom on to flat Earth theory or one of these other you get on one of these other into some of these parallel realities, and for a brief moment, the world makes sense again. There's a theory of everything again. It's all planned by the cabal, for example. Or it's all, and it could be, left, right. I mean, it's not even politically dependent. There's versions of it on all sides of the political spectrum. But then you realize that, that whole thing, that's still part of the old story. Trying to explain the world in terms of us versus them, or a shade of a kind of a victim mentality that denies our integration into the intelligence that pervades all things. So it's happening on a collective level. And see, as this happens, as these cracks start to spread in reality, in our worldview, in our sense of self, something comes in through those cracks. Light comes in from other futures that want to be born. Other realities, other stories, other mythologies, other possibilities. The light comes in, and it takes the form of the unexplainable. It takes the form of things that don't make sense from the world that you had lived in, from the reality you had inhabited. And they confirm the knowledge that we carry that a more beautiful world is possible. My friend shared with me a a story that kind of had that effect on me. I'm always hungry for such things. He's a doctor in a Vedic lineage that goes back thousands of years. Forgive me, Samantha, you've already heard this story, but I will tell it to the rest of you. So one of his, someone who translated his book into Farsi actually was in Iran to promote the book. And she became very ill and was sent to a hospital and was on life support, in a coma. And while her mother, her 80-year-old mother and her sister were with her, and they were believers in the methods of this book, in these ancient Vedic healing methods. And so my friend Clint, he sent them a video about, okay, here's what to do to help this woman. And you press these marma points, there's a series of 7 or 8 points that you press 6 times each, and here's what you say and stuff like that. And so the mother and the sister did that, and every time they did it, her pulse got a little stronger. And the doctors were amazed because they had said, sit down, this is the will of Allah that she's going to pass now, and there's nothing you can do. But they did that, and so she seemed to stabilize, okay? And so then they left. But then later that night, or maybe it was the next night, they're called back urgently because the woman's heart had stopped. And when they arrived there, the woman's heart had already stopped for 45 minutes. Like, this is not, her heart stopped for a couple minutes. She was dead. The doctors were filling out their death certificates, and they said, okay, it's time for you to leave the room. We have to do the morgue procedures or whatever. And the mother, 80-year-old mother, said, no, it's time for you to leave the room. And so she shooed the doctors out of there, and they start doing these points. I think you know what happened next. Yeah. The heart monitor beeps again after 48 minutes of not beeping, and then again, and then again. And she said, I wish that, the sister said, I wish you could have seen the look on those doctors' faces. And then the woman in a coma opens her eyes, and she says, where's my flower? What flower? There's no flower. This is the ICU. There's no flowers here. No. A man came and gave me a flower, a white lily. He said his name was Pankaj. No one knows a Pankaj. Who's Pankaj? Turns out that Pankaj was the name of the teacher who taught Dr. Clint his knowledge. And in the coma, the woman had the experience of Dr. Naran coming and giving her a flower. Okay. And then she recovered, she got better, and she's fine now. Okay. Yeah, so what do we do with that information? If that actually happened, if that's true, then what else is true? Can we insert that data point into the matrix of official reality without dissolving that reality, without disintegrating that reality? It doesn't fit in, does it? So if you are robust in the official reality, in consensus reality, you will find a way to exclude that data point. It's just an anecdote, this was Iran, they probably have faulty equipment, probably the heart monitor stopped working, that's what happened. Then it started, you can explain it easily. You can find some way to explain it. And, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Where's the proof, Let me see the medical charts. So, eventually, even if we reject those things, they live inside of us as kind of a seed, waiting for the cracks to spread far enough that there's enough fertile soil for that seed to grow. And then all of these experiences, all of these stories, and they don't have to be miraculous things in the sense of violating medical or physical material reality. They could be miracles of relationship, miracles of forgiveness, miracles of cooperation, miracles of love, of generosity, of kindness. These things also violate what we've been told is human nature and violate the way of the world as we have received it. All of these things are seeds, they're medicines, that even in the midst of the breakdown, they reveal that on some level we know they carry us into what's on the other side of the breakdown. And so I say this, maybe some of you are going through this, maybe some of you, the cracks are spreading in your life. Certainly it is for our society, the story, the stuff coming out, I don't know, it could be from UFO disclosure to the stuff all about the censorship industrial complex to the medical crimes that have happened to, in Canada it was the revelations about the treatment of the indigenous, stuff like that is coming out here too in the boarding schools. It could be the stuff around, Diddy Coombs, and all that horrible, it's just kind of like, it's like Pandora's box, the lid of Pandora's box is like wobbling, and when it opens, everything that comes out, all of the disclosures that could happen could just obliterate reality as we have known it. It's staring us right in the face, and collectively though we've banished all of that information, all of that data to some realm of, stuff to be debunked or ignored or just, I'm just not going to think about that. But it's still waiting there, and it's lodged inside of us. And it helps, it's like a through line, it helps, especially the miraculous things, the things that unveil, that are the light coming in through these cracks. They show us that there's a there, a destination. And so if you are in that phase of holding it together, or people are, maybe you won't be able to tell them what to do any better than I can tell you what to do in that state. But simply knowing that this is part of a larger process will make you a medicine for these people. Because you will know that, your soul has chosen this initiatory ordeal. And I know that there's something on the other side of it. And I know that you are calling it in because you have outgrown the reality that you had inhabited, just as our civilization has outgrown the reality that we have inhabited. That's generating crisis in every direction. And that these crises are converging to prepare us. These are the initiatory crises. This is the initiatory ordeal. So that's a bit of what's going on. And may I share? I have a short film I made, but you know what? People need to come closer to see it well. And 1 minute remaining. Well, it's perfect because the film is 3 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can start. Please come close if you want to see the full, get the full impact of it. No, this is a different film. The Fall, yeah. But I never realized. Last week I heard it for the first time with a really good sound system, and it had a completely different effect. So, okay, thank you. point is that we, on some level, do know what we're doing, and what we have taken on is not beyond our capacities. And we are here to remind each other that that is true. Thank you so much for welcoming me here. And thank you, Angel, for inviting me again. Yeah.
Thank you, Charles. I'm not crying. You're crying.